You ready? Okay, so we're in kind of an unusual situation, Neil, because you have just purchased the 30th anniversary Fireblade.
Yeah.
And yet, you own one of John's bikes. So John wants one of your bikes, and you now own one of his bikes. That's about right.
Yeah, I think we're about right. Yeah, absolutely.
So which bike do you want, John, off Neil?
I would really like, it's affectionately called, with me and you, Told Single.
Told Single.
The old single, but it's with a bit of northern twang.
Right.
Told Single, which is, as I'm studying now, it's right on the side of our Fireblade here. It's to the 2000 last ever singles TT winning bike that was called the AMDM, Anne Morris and Dave Morris, which was a special bike. Amazing bit of kit built by your late father, which was, quite emotional at times. Quite.
Yeah, I remember the race,
we went to test it at Mallory Park with, fortunately, your late brother.
Yeah.
And we just got on really well. And obviously, I watched Dave win his TTs on the single, and watched him win them, and thought that'd be a nice bike to ride one day. And for the wrong reasons, I suppose, I got to ride it, but. Amazing, yeah. Me and Jason Griffiths, we
It was 1-2 that year.
Yeah.
By a mile as well, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, I was number 56, I think. There was Jason 52. I caught him, I think.
Yeah.
I caught him, passed him, and then we also caught Johnny Barton.
Yeah, Johnny Barton was on the Ducati, I think, on a Super Mono in third.
He was one of them super mono things.
Supermoto
He
Ducati,
didn't.
yeah.
He didn't have to stop for fuel as well. It was a 4-lap race, so he really should have. He should have.
Yeah.
Well, should have beat us really. So we come in for fuel, and on the fuel stop, I'll let him tell you what I did.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, yeah. So fuel stop at the end of lap 2. I was in the pit with Dave Bromfield, our little chief mechanic, who'd been with the team for a long time, and we were all pretty nervous, pretty anxious, and used to working with my dad, who we knew in and out. And John was a new rider for us.
Then.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. And we were all feeling the pressure. We had Honda, and Honda were very much integral to John riding the bike. Bob McMillan was the main man and helped us get John on board. We had Paul Bird, obviously John was riding for Birdie.
Because you were in your months.
Vimto.
Leathers, yeah.
So, and I was 23, my brother was 27, so it was a big deal. We were quite young lads, and I'd been in pits before, so I'm ready, Dave's ready, John comes in pits. It went pretty smoothly up until we had to get John going again, and we practiced a run high compression, the singles, pull him back on compression, get him going, try and get enough momentum going. Boom, nothing. I think second attempt, Jason overtook John in the pit lane, so he'd overtaken him back on the road. Third attempt, bang, went. And Dave and I are kicking ourselves, thinking, what do we do wrong? Do we not get enough momentum? Do we not get it back enough? What do we do? Yeah, comes in, end of the race, normal thing, casual as you like. Jeff Cannell, maybe, interviewing, saying, "Oh yeah, how was the race, John? Oh, forgot to put kill switch on in pit." So great. So we're kicking ourselves, but it didn't matter because we just were loving the moment by that time. But
And that would have been a chaotic pit lane because it would have been foot down stop box, but no speed limit back then. Or would it have been straight?
Stop box. Yeah.
Did it stop?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe stop box. Yeah, but weird thing. We practiced it, and we got it right every time till it was the right time to do it. We messed it up, but he got me focused again, and I remember catching Jason back up and passed him on the road again. So,
but
I had the trophy in one hand at that point.
I can remember the race. I remember it really well. I remember how the bikes looked. I remember how they sounded, and I remember you had a considerable lead, and it being such an emotional finish when you guys came in for so many reasons. And the bikes looked and sounded, even though you were a privateer team, they looked so well and sounded so good.
It's down to my dad, really. He was a precision engineer by trade. He was a tool maker for British Aerospace and raced since before I was born, sort of 74, 75, started racing. And he was a very, very clever man. I'm really biased, clearly, but I've been around the machine shop today looking at CNC and stuff that my dad did, and he did it on an old 1950s lathe and an old 1970s mill. Wow. And he machined cylinders for these engines, 400 hours to make one from solid billet, and he made 4. Wow. And one of them was in the bike that John raced, and another one in Jason's bike. Yeah, really clever man. And, my mum was the inspiration for the bikes looking so professional, because we were a privateer team, albeit we had a bit of factory support towards the latter end of my dad's career. But we were on a shoestring, really. And after my mum and dad died, my brother and I had the job of going through all the belongings, going through the paperwork and things. And we're going through a kind of concertina file and looking at all this paperwork. And there's like 4 lots of mortgage papers. Going through it, and it's like new bathroom, new kitchen, new extension. My brother and I are like, can you remember having a new bathroom? Nah. New kitchen? Nah. Remember Dad having a new Harris chassis this year, and that was how they lived, and that's how they did it. And so you saying about how emotional it was, this was like 20 plus years of a family team, close friends, me, my brother, my mum, my dad. My mum was the team boss. She kept all the wheels turning. She got all the team to the races. She got everything organised, got the bikes looking the part, my dad looking the part. So all that inspiration folded into what we did in 2000. We still had best friends Steve and Chris Caffin, who were the Chris of Chrysalis, which was my mum and dad's team. Alice was the Alison of my mum. And they were still with us. They were helping us with John and Jason. And actually, the most emotional point for me was John and Jason actually came past the start and finish side by side, starting the last lap. And I'll never forget that. I was actually in pit lane because my mum had drilled us that we were ready every lap, regardless of whether they were due. And these singles, you mentioned the sound coming back side by side. The only thing that was different was the rider apparel and the numbers. They both looked identical other than that. And the sound was just amazing. And that was I had to keep it together that time. It was pretty cool.
And what was the bike like to ride, John? Because, you not rode a single before there?
No. We had a little test at Mallory Park.
Yeah.
And I just loved it straight away. It was like a 250, really. It didn't rev very hard. Only rev to, 9 or 10 or something? Yeah, so and you had to have a little bit of mechanical sympathy with them. Yeah. But growing up on 2-strokes, and I understood it, and Jason was a class rider as well, and the bike never missed a beat at all. I think we had a practice engine, did we? Then we put a race engine in for the.
Is that when you started with the 125s?
Yeah, they went off first with Joey and.
The 125s were away. Then I was a bit of a gap, and then 56 hours away. Then I was maybe the 3rd or 4th single away. But I just sat on top of it and just rode the bike here every apex. It just felt it's really, really nice to ride something like that. It's got racing pedigree. It's a proper racing chassis. It's not wobbling around anywhere. It's dead precise, bit like my 250, but it was just like a slightly slower 250. So you could actually have time to think about it. And it was just joy to ride. It really, really was fun. And I was praying. I was talking to it. I was like, we have to win this race for these guys and memory of Dave and Anne. So it's difficult for me. When I crossed the line, it was a big outlay of emotion. But super proud of what we all achieved that day, or the whole week, the whole fortnight. It's and it's the last ever one that there ever was, and so he's got the bike.
Yeah, so this is the awkward.
For now,
this is the awkward point. So the bike is currently
it's his bike. Come on, I couldn't do that.
Where is the bike currently?
It's on top of my stairs. And I don't wish to sound grandiose. It is literally just big enough to fit on the top of the stairs. And thank God it's 130 odd kilos, because it'd be hard work to get up and down otherwise. But yeah, it's there. John and I have talked about this a few times, and it's difficult without the engineering expertise of my dad. It's quite a tricky thing, because the talent skipped a generation in that case. Yeah. My eldest lad is looking like he might be taking up that mantle, but the bikes are bespoke. They're a one-off. They were built by a man that when we first started this project with John and Jason, the only information we had written down was gearing for Pembrey.
Right.
Nothing for TT, nothing, no jetting, no nothing. So we were really starting from scratch. And I think John mentioned the Mallory test a couple of times. Apart from a big screen and wider bars, the bikes went as they came to Mallory, really. So, it's perhaps testament to my dad that they were so easy to put together and run. I've stripped them myself, and again, I'm not my dad, but they're so easy to work on because of what he was capable of as an engineer. They're almost like a production bike, really. They're that good. So what happens from here on in? We'll have a chat.
Well, it's almost come full circle.
Dig deep.
Yeah.
But
I just got to say, he's done really, really well. He's been working on the wife for the last 20 years to get it into the house and on the hallway, in the hallway. She wasn't keen to start.
No. I went abroad. I went and worked abroad for a bit, and when I came back, I think she must have been missing me because she just went, "Yeah, do it. It's fine." So up it went, and it's been there ever since. She puts like a bit of a doily on it and a pot plant every now and then as a bit of a silent protest. But no, my wife's great, and she's pretty supportive of all that. And my oldest, he's actually had my late father's TT winning bike in his bedroom at one point, and he loves it all. He loves it.
So where is your anniversary Fireblade going?
Don't know, because there ain't room on the stairs. I've still got to work that
Well,
one
there's
out.
only one way to get room on the stairs.
Well,
I love the single.
do you think she'll be all right that I've bought it? I haven't told her yet.
I'll talk to her.
Yeah.
Cool,
We
guys.
call it BDQ.
No.
But we're not allowed to
No,
go
not.
to
We won't go down that road.
That's true.
Sorry, darling.
Cool. Right. I'll end it there. Thanks for your time, guys. As I say, I remember watching the race. I remember the bikes. I remember Jace. I remember Bart. And I remember it being on that last lap. You had a massive lead coming out of Ramsey hairpin. The commentator had a lump in his throat. It was an emotional and
Yeah.
something you should be extremely proud of.
Yeah, it still are, and this man means so much to the Morris family name, and he's been a big part of that. And this bike, we're 1% of this bike, and it feels massive. Feels massive.
You are part
Yeah.
of the journey.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks very much, guys. Cheers.
No worries, cheers.
Perfect.
Sweet.
Yeah, Johnny Barton was third. I remember Johnny Barton third.
He got all